great to be with you, Gene Wallnow.
Now that's low. That's very low.
Come on, where's your invitation? Oh, Gene.
Oh, come on,
Oh,
Hank.
come on. All right. Anyway, we all get called the wrong names, right? So here's where it's at. What I feel. So I was on vacation, and I heard something so loud when I was praying one early morning, and it sounded like a trumpet blast, and it was released with such force that when it finally I heard it, I understood what I heard. Always remember, sound precedes manifestation. That's why God said, let there be light. And then the next thing it says is there was. So God announced this because it's getting ready to manifest, and you're part of it. He said, shift, change. And it came so strong, I felt it hit the earth. Now, Gene, remember what happened on March 15th of 2020. And I've shared this before. I was taken up, the Lord, I don't know who it was, pulled me up by my hair. That was a miracle. Must have been enough gel in it to pull it up, right? And I am being caught up in the hair. He'd pull you up by your shoulders, man. All right, here you go. So I'm getting pulled up March 15th, and I'm over the earth, and I look down, and the United States of America, there was so much darkness that I realized that I was not just looking at the earth, but I was now looking at America, and I saw darkness like I've never seen. And I believe it was the Lord that stood by me. It was one of the most authoritative voices I ever heard, March 15th, 2020, and said, divine reset. Remember that? And I went, divine reset. And I saw a light, and it hit the United States of America with such force. And it didn't happen right away, but it started to loose the darkness off of the country. So when I heard this shift change, I knew it was another moment where God is trying to tell us about this reset that he's been saying. People often use eschatology to quote, as in the days of Noah. And they always go to the negative side. But the days of Noah was God ultimately dealing with corruption. And the deep state, Genesis 7:11, the fountain of the deep, or the state of the deep, was broken. Right? That's what God's doing. Hello, Russia hoax. And the windows of heaven were open. Now there's the God factor. And God reset the earth because of one man who stood, as the Bible says in Peter, as a preacher of righteousness. So fast forward, when I heard this, I said, oh God, you got to tell me something. What are we looking at? Now, how many of you remember shift changes on a job? It's to mark one time frame and laboring to now something new, of a shift, of a time frame that's going to require our labor. That is totally new. Isaiah 42:9, behold, former things have come to pass. Behold, new things I declare. That's the shift. And before they come, I will tell you. So we have to understand that we are in this moment right now in the earth where many are saying the Hebrew words like Chuck Pierce, where it's, hey, pay attention. Pay attention to what? Shift change. Now, what does that mean? So I asked God, I said, tell me. He said, Ecclesiastes 3 is, under heaven there is times, seasons, and purposes for all things. This is a new purpose now. And it's to bring God's righteousness and justice. And I encourage you, go out and listen to the prophecy that the Lord gave us, why my voice is like this, where I wasn't planning on prophesying, and my jaw fell on the floor. I could not stand. Jesus walked in our church, and he said, I've come now because you've heard the whistleblowers speak. Now I have come to let the children of the earth speak, because they have been victimized and abused. And I'm going to expose at a level that you have not seen because of this shift. This is why we got to quit talking, because frequencies are how things come in the earth. You don't want to become the devil's prophet. God speaks from the throne room. Our job is to hear it, not only through the word, but also through the rhema. What is God saying in the now? The problem is these political demons operate as the princes of the powers of the air. They get on the media, they speak through the media, and they bring that into another frequency in the earth. And we begin to repeat what these loonies say about President Trump, about what's happening in the earth, and we begin to speak it, and we release agreement as prophets of the devil. We got to stop it. That's why the prophets were so attacked in 2020. Others caved. God is saying, I'm revisiting. Hindsight is 2020. They told us we all lied about the election being stolen. Now it's going to be more so on the forefront like you've never seen. It's not going away because God's not going to let it go away. Now let's talk real quick. 3 things. We are in a sifting. God said, I will shake once more everything that can be shaken. That's the sifting. Why are things like Epstein files being spoken about? Why all of a sudden are we hearing different rumors of exposure? And we're looking at Obama, who led one of the greatest betrayals to you, the American people. Preach. In the history of our country. I stood 2006 in Chicago in front of 5,000 people. And they said, preach. Spirit of God came in. I said, listen to me, Chicago. You say you want a black-skinned president. Is this what you want? There was no mention of Obama at the time. God says, do you want Ishmael? Do you want one who has a dark heart with dark policies? Is this what you want? Because we carried the wrong frequencies and came into agreement. Because we aligned ourselves according to the color of skin, rather than discern what was really happening to us. God said something in May. He said, I call my church to pray. No, you know what we do instead? We get on social media and argue, complain, get into rhetoric, discussions that get us nowhere. And it's on purpose so that God, what he's saying from the frequencies of his throne, doesn't get repeated, doesn't get considered. And he said, if you pray, there will be one of the greatest arrests that you have seen in the history of your nation. That was before anything was mentioned about Obama. God is not here to play. We are in a time of sifting that is bringing a shift, change, that will ultimately bring the swiftness. But Hebrews 10:9 says, God takes away the old. Why? To establish the new. But if we keep holding on to the old, if we won't change, we won't shift. And then the Lord said this. He said, tell the people this, what's on my agenda. He said, the Hebrew boys, this is why Charlie Kirk shifted our country off of going to the Hebrew boys, so to speak, the young, what you're doing with the young. It's shifting our country to bring the generation back to the children because of what's been done to them. God is not going to put up with it. And the Hebrew boys did not bow. You did not bow, Flashpoint Army. That's why I get behind Gene, Heart, and Treasure. Prayers. And because they didn't bow and you didn't bow, it brought a shift, change. It brought the God factor. Who's this fourth man that appears? This is what people don't realize is happening. God is stepping in. And how dare we stand in the way of what God is saying? And guess what it did? It shifted. The king's decrees, laws, decrees, ordinances that ultimately changed the kingdom, or you could say the nation. It was a shift change. because of the refusal to bow. That's what God said. That's what I'm rewarding people. Second, the lion's den. Daniel. He's in the lion's den. By the way, he's on a Daniel fast. Right?
I caught it.
Caught it, okay. And the mouths of the lions were silenced. What did it do? The God factor came in. The angel of the Lord silenced the lions' mouths. And there was a shift change in government again.
That's right.
Now, why? What have been the mouths of the lions? The lying liberals, the liberal media, the woke generation, the pastors that are cowards, that have attacked because they were scared of the Johnson Amendment and wouldn't speak up while their people are getting abused by the system. And God is silencing. This is why you're seeing Colbert being canceled. CNN, the only ratings they have is they watch each other. Okay? It's all crashing down just like God said it would. And they would be forced, he said, to tell the truth. They're going away. God prophesied several months ago about those cackling women, The View, Whoopie-Doo. You know her? Okay. And Joyce Barf, or Joy Barf, or whatever her name is. And here's the thing. He said, I speak to you about The View. It will be known as the rear view. How many remember that prophecy? Raise your hand. You remember. They're suddenly not coming back next year. They're taking a break. No, you're getting canceled. Because we're winning. Because we're in the middle of a shift change.
Is that not amazing? Thank you for joining me for this very special presentation of a Flashpoint live event. Remember, Flashpoint, we're always to the right of center.